and welcome to another edition of Grandstanders Live. I'm your host, Scott Kermit, and of course, I'm joined by my usual cohorts here on Zoom. We got the professor, Russ Stevens, Uncle Joe McLaughlin, and he's JP's first son, Tim Hoey. Welcome, boys, for our show on Zoom. You guys have a good week?
Yes, we
did. Yeah, hanging in there.
And this week.
Everybody's healthy and happy. Are you at least healthy?
We are.
I'm as happy as I can be.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, there's going to be one guy who comes out of this very, very rich, and his initials are Tim H. But we're so glad for you. All right, boys, I thought we'd take a different angle. We got to talk about sports. We have to talk about Boston sports, but we got to talk about the future. We start with the future of the Boston Celtics. Well, let's say that the season is going to be over. All right, there's no, it's over. We have to think about the 2021 season. First question, and you know where I lean. Does Grandpa opt out? Does Grandpa Gordon Hayward opt out of his contract?
Why on earth would he do that?
No chance. No chance.
No chance, right?
No chance. No.
No one else is going to give him a tenth of
the only way he opts out is if he opts out and has a deal. What the Celtics wanted to do with Horford last year was have him opt out and then sign him for a longer term deal at less money, while Horford opted out and signed for a lot more money. Hayward's just not going to get that kind of money.
Yeah. Timmy, does Grandpa stay or go?
You know what's sad? It just dawned on me, who's the pitcher that the Red Sox just signed for $30 million a year? The skinny guy.
Chris Sale.
Chris Sale.
No, Chris Sale.
Could we have him opt out right now? Could we have him opt out right now?
Yeah, right.
3 months into the contract? No, Gordon Hayward is not opting out, man. This guy, he landed in a big pile of poop and is happy as a clam.
The only thing that so no, he's going to opt in. There is a thought though that if there was a better fit for the Celtics as a trade for another guy who's essentially on the same kind of contract, right. Which is at an opt out. Rudy Gobert has exactly the same contract basically. So you could imagine a world in which if they wanted Gobert almost as a rental for a year and wanted to trade Hayward, that something like that could be done. That would be very interesting.
Gobert literally shot himself out of town with Donovan
exactly
Mitchell
right.
and the whole project.
He's been so streaky. He keeps teasing us, and he goes on a little streak of having these great games, and then he disappears.
Yeah, at garbage time, he goes on streaks.
Oh, he's back. He's the guy we thought he was going to be. He's just not consistent.
And I think we can say now that he was a bust. I mean, I think the results are finally it.
I would have liked to have seen it if that injury never happened. What he could have been.
Yeah, I would like to see how he plays. I think one more playoff round I'd love to see, if he has anything left. But yeah, he's teetering on the brink of a bust, Scotty. There's no
I don't think the book is absolutely closed yet though on him.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, obviously he's gonna play next year because he's opting in, then he can change the narrative a little bit, like JD Drew did with his one home run. All right, Jason Tatum, of course, he's gonna get a max deal this summer, no matter what. Doesn't really matter.
Well, this coronavirus might have hurt him the most because he was blossoming into even more, I think, than we thought he was going to be.
Right, but he still gets paid, Timmy, right? And
yeah, it gets him to the big money, though.
This doesn't affect him as far as his future goes.
I don't think I've ever seen an athlete where lifting weights paid off so incredibly quick. I mean, this guy poured a little beef on, and all of a sudden, I used to complain that he used to get a block going to the hole every time. Like 50% of his shots going to the hole would be blocked or whatever. That little extra bulk he put on made a world of difference.
Yeah, Joe, we talk about it all the time, right? If these guys fill out, that's a big thing for the fans. Fill out. He filled out quick.
And Jaylen Brown filled out quick, too. Look how well he's improved, too, especially going to the hole. He's dunked on everyone in the league now.
So the greatest need for the Celtics moving forward to the 2021 season, is it the same need that we had going into the playoffs, greater depth in the second?
I think to me, the real weak spot on this team as presently constituted is there's just no depth on the bench. There's just no scoring off the bench, so you're looking at 6 guys, and once you hit the 7th guy, it's a pretty big drop off.
So Timmy, we talked to the Bruins. Definitely this was the Bruins year. So I got no problem with them winning the Stanley Cup if that's how that works, because if you felt like this was the team of destiny, didn't you think?
This is the first team in years where I say, if they didn't, they should win the cup. It's not like the year we did win it against Vancouver. Oh, Vancouver was more talented, but we were tougher. And then last year, we were better than St. Louis, but they were tougher. I think we have all the bases covered this year. This is the best Bruins team I've seen in a long, long time. I mean, from the goaltending, Rask, who I ragged on all last year, got his act together. Halak was playing outstanding. The depth of the defense is truly incredible. Would I like them to be a little bigger? Yes, but their skating is unparalleled in the league. The forward lines, the depth, you can throw, that one incredible line, one of the great lines in NHL history. And then the other 3 lines are as solid as any team has. All
right, Joe, what happens to the Charas and the Bergerons? You're going to bring the band back next year. You're hoping you sign Krug. I assume you would in the new economics. So Bruins, same type of team, should have the same results, you'd hope, right?
Well, it could be very different if they recalculate the salary cap to include the losses of this year. I don't know how that is going to work out. And then you would have to make all sorts of drastic changes in the roster. But as of right now, I guess you got to bring Chara back one more time. Bergeron's a given.
Yeah, but Russ, the cap obviously affects everybody in the NHL.
Yeah, I think,
the guys, right?
Yeah, the NBA and the NHL are dealing with great economic uncertainty. And if the cap goes down and they don't make some adjustments to allow teams some flexibility, it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to sign Krug. Look, the disappointing thing with the Bruins this year, but if they do bring him back, Timmy, I think they're coming back in great shape if they do end up having the playoffs in the Stanley Cup this year, because you're not going to have the kind of injuries that this team had going in last year. You had Pasternak was clearly not right. Bergeron looked like he got into another one of those car accidents. Wasn't Chara's chin all messed up, jaw all messed up?
Yeah, he broke.
You have a shot at fully healthy with those older players, with the Bruins going into a playoffs. I'm betting on them.
Pasternak was 50% in the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
And this guy is in the conversation for top 5 player in the league right now.
Oh, I think so. I think he's top 3, top 5.
His skill, the deftness of his hands is, Rick Middleton, better than Rick Middleton. I haven't seen hands like this in years.
But Timmy, isn't he MVP right now? If the year ended,
he'd have to be in the conversation. I mean, the couple of kids out in Edmonton are just tearing it up. I mean,
right.
Otherworld and McDavid. I don't know if there's anybody on the same planet as McDavid. He's a once every 30-year talent. I mean, he makes Sidney Crosby look slow. Pasternak MVP conversation. McDavid just seems to be different than everybody.
I know, right? But Edmonton, Boston's always going to win out being a much bigger, much bigger community market that people aren't seeing the Edmonton games. It's kind of like the Utah Jazz. Do they really happen? All right. So before we get out of the Bruins, boys, does Chara continue on for another season now that we've had this time off and he wouldn't be so beat up? Does Chara play?
Yeah, why not? He didn't exactly run down the tread in his tires this year, did he?
Right.
And they treated him pretty kindly during the first half of the year too.
And you talk about Tom Brady being the man of iron. I mean, Chara is really the man of iron. I mean, Tom Brady goes back in the little protected pocket. I mean, 60% of the plays he's handing the ball off. Chara's out there, logging 30 minutes a game in an incredibly physical sport. He has adjusted his game like I did when I get slow and fat, to just stay between the puck and the net. He is like realized his deficiencies with his speed and adjusted his angles accordingly to keep playing this game.
Yeah. All right, we go to the Patriots, and it's all about Tim Hoey on this one. It's all about tanking for Trevor. This is the big issue that doesn't go away. And boys, I'm going to repeat this. There is no question in my mind Bill Belichick wants to get the worst record in football and get Trevor Lawrence. It's not even a question to me. And I want to tell you the odds.
I honestly, I don't think you could be any more wrong. I really don't. Like, it's really sort of, you're stunningly wrong on this one.
No,
you're not gonna tank for Trevor and keep Joe Tooney and Dante Hightower and the McCourty twins and all the people that he kept around, because those guys are going to go out and they're going to play their asses off, and they're just not gonna lose 14 games to with that kind of defense.
Russ is right. Players don't tank. Management can tank, but players never tank.
Well, see, I have a different point of view. I think he's keeping just enough leadership around to keep the Patriot mindset in that locker room.
I think that's the point, Timmy. You completely convinced me. That's absolutely right.
You know, thank you, Scott. No. I convinced someone today.
He doesn't have it in his DNA. The guy doesn't have it in his DNA.
Russ, a big part of me agrees with you. A huge part of me agrees with you that Belichick would rather slice his wrist than tank for a season. But Trevor Lawrence is like the big giant jewel hanging there waiting to be.
It's Trevor Lawrence. I mean, I don't know. I think he's a really, really good quarterback, but I don't know that. I don't know that Belichick's going to go against 35 years of coaching to think that one player is going to be that much of a difference maker.
And a lot of the scouts now don't have Trevor Lawrence as the number one quarterback.
Oh, no, you guys are crazy. First of all, apparently he has graded out the highest grade in the history of college quarterbacking.
You know, the only scout that wouldn't have him one is one who wants to be like pulled out on the internet for like writing something so insane.
Yeah, okay.
Contrarian.
Yeah, Joe. So who's going to be drafted first? Sam Bowie?
I have no idea.
Look, even the best quarterbacks,
and we're not going to even see college football this year.
Even the best quarterbacks ever drafted are hit with a 50% rate. There's no sure thing. No sure thing. Never has been.
This is Peyton Manning and John Elway all over.
If this was the Cincinnati Bengals and they said they were going into the season with Jarrett Stidham, you would say, of course, they're trying to tank.
Yeah, but this is not the Cincinnati Bengals. That's my point. You just made my point.
No. The point is that doesn't, just because Jarrett Stidham is with the Patriots, that doesn't make him so much better.
No, I'm not saying that. That's not my argument. My argument is Bill Belichick's not going to tank an entire season. By the way, he can't even. You'd have to basically ensure that you go 1-15 or 2-14. That's just not going to be possible with this team.
So the Redskins are out there. The Giants are out there. There's a lot of bad teams.
Unless he just goes dive right, dive left every play. You know?
This team you know how many points per game this team gave up last year? 14.4 points per game.
Yeah, they've lost so many key guys on the team.
They've lost two very important defensive players who they lost.
Two linebackers. You're right.
Kyle Van Noy and Jamie Collins, and those guys are replaceable.
The offense was operating on a string last year. I mean, and then you lose Tom Brady.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not that Brady was all that great last year either, though, Tim.
Yeah, he threw it away. Like half the plays, he just threw it into the dirt.
So you're thinking that Bill Belichick believes that he can compete for a Super Bowl next year?
No.
Jarrett Stidham is quarterback.
No, I don't think he thinks he can compete for a Super Bowl next year, but I think he's fine with going 8-8 or 9-7 or 7-9. He's going to go out and he's going to compete every game that's just his nature. That's who he is.
No. Scotty, I would have to say I agree with Russ more. As much as I would like us to tank for Trevor, I just don't think Belichick has it in him to do it.
Oh my God! Well, first of all, Vegas agrees with you all. 60-1 odds that the Patriots will have the worst record.
Yeah,
you guys aren't putting $30, $40, $50 on something like that. You're
nope.
crazy.
You're lighting your money on fire. You can do
No,
that.
you're not.
What's the over-under, Scotty, on wins?
With 60, what's that?
What's the over-under on
9.
wins for the
I
season?
think it's 9. It's around
I'd
9.
bet the under. I'm betting the under on that, but I'm not betting on them having the worst record in the NFL. No way.
You know,
Oh, yeah. I agree.
the AFC East has been waiting for this year for 20 freaking years now.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, absolutely.
No kidding.
Guys, seriously. Well, so you're saying you're sitting here believing in Jarrett Stidham as a quarterback?
No, Scott, you're not listening to me. I'm not saying I believe. I think they could easily win 6 or 7 games next year. They could easily not be good. I'm not saying that Jarrett Stidham's the guy, but what I'm saying is I don't think Belichick has it in him to go out and lose 14 games on purpose.
How does that help the future of the New England Patriots when you have an aging defense and you win 6 or 7 games with a quarterback who's drafted in the 4th round?
Do you remember how many horrible teams we saw the first half of last season? Could you imagine the Patriots being worse than those teams?
But
There's plenty of quarterbacks in the NFL who are not first-round draft picks. Plenty. 3rd, 4th. Russell Wilson was what? 2nd, 3rd, 4th round pick?
4th, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, could he be? Would I bet on Stidham? I wouldn't bet on him, but I wouldn't bet completely against him.
Okay, well,
let's not forget that the Patriots in 2001, 2002 were led by a 6th-round draft pick game manager that couldn't throw it down the field too.
Oh,
Defense.
Oh, for God's sake, we're now comparing Jarrett Stidham to Tom Brady now. All right, okay. Now, seriously, guys, and when Jarrett Stidham doesn't work out, he conveniently has Brian Hoyer, who you agree is not an NFL quarterback.
No, he's a stiff.
Look,
Okay,
I
so
think
Brian
that
Hoyer,
here's what I do think. I think that Belichick looks at starting Stidham as he could win either way, which is if Stidham goes out and shows he's an NFL quarterback, great. He's got a 4th-round pick on 3 more year contract cheap. If he goes out and craps the bed, then he'll be like, all right, great. Then we will get a better draft pick. But I don't think he's going out and saying, I'm playing Jarrett Stidham so that we can lose 14 games next year.
the year 2 of Jimmy G and the year 2 of Jarrett Stidham, who would you rather have had played for the starting quarterback for the New England Patriots?
I don't no way of determining who. No way.
I
Stidham played.
We're all in the dark on Stidham. I mean, we just have not had anything to see so far. We saw, what he came in for 4 plays to a pick 6 and boom, right out,
But yeah, but he at the same time he played better in his first preseason than Garoppolo played in his first preseason. He was terrific during preseason.
Garoppolo's more of a known factor. That's the only thing we have there. None of us have seen Stidham at all.
But Joe, Garoppolo wasn't a known factor going into his 2nd year. Stidham played at Auburn.
Yeah,
Garoppolo played for like Eastern Illinois or whatever the hell that place was.
All right, so you're just shutting the door. All right, well, that's right. When the Patriots start 0-3, then we'll see if you guys.
The Patriots. I'm not arguing with you.
Of course, you and Russ and Joe will be like, I always said there was a chance.
I'm not saying they could easily start 0-3. I'm not saying that Jarrett Stidham is the guy, hardly. But I don't think we know. I don't think we have enough evidence to suggest that he could be any worse than Jimmy Garoppolo going into his 2nd year.
So we agree that Bill Belichick's dream is to have his son Stephen the next head coach of the New England Patriots. Would you guys agree?
Oh, I'm sure he would like that just like the Shulers did, and just like the Shanahans did. They all want to do that.
Yep. That's funny you bring up Don Shula. Don Shula passed away at 90 years old a few days ago, and somebody had to write a note, the press release for Bill Belichick saying how sorry he was.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah.
Shula was not kind to Belichick this last decade.
He was a nasty, cranky old man.
Yeah,
he
right.
held on to that undefeated season title.
Yeah.
And then called Belichick Belichick all the time.
Yeah.
Really.
That was very sweet. All right, we go to the Boston Red Sox, boys. And just so you know, Alex Verdugo, if you were worried, is 100%, whatever 100% is with Alex Verdugo. What are your expectations, really, for the guys that we got in the Mookie Betts deal? Because somehow they need to be productive at some point, right?
Yeah, ironically, that every game that doesn't get played, that deal looks better and better, right? because that's just what, in terms of what you sent out in Mookie, the Dodgers rolled the dice that they were going to get 162 games out of him this year.
Wait,
now they're just getting a free agent.
Yeah.
Is Major League Baseball currently paying their players?
It's a great question. I don't know.
I don't believe so.
You don't? Oh, because I was thinking that the fact
I have a computer right in front of me. I can look it up.
Yeah, I think there's probably some agreement that they made about paying a certain percentage of their salaries. I don't think they're not paying
must
them
be
at
in the
all.
CBA something.
Yeah, right. Because the idea that the Los Angeles Dodgers have to pay David Price right now has got to make them stick in their stomach, right?
The NBA is the only one I know for sure that has a clause in the CBA that says they don't have to pay them if there's like an act of God or something like this.
Yeah.
Has the season been officially postponed?
No, I'm sure they're going to try to get 100 games in at some point, somehow.
But the fact
they've got a new idea every day, and no dates or times or anything to go with it, but new idea.
Reading something here, they said that the World Series could be played in December.
Oof.
Yeah, in a neutral site.
Neutral site, yeah, played out in Arizona or something. If this thing goes how it seems to be going, there's going to be a lot of sports to watch on television in the fall and the winter.
Right.
It's going to be, talk about going from famine to feast. Oh my God, it's going to be every night.
Right?
Crazy. Crazy.
So would you rather see the next times, of course, the NBA and NHL play, would you like to see, when they're able to play, would you like to see them finish out the season no matter what time that is?
Yeah.
I would. I'd like to see it. So, if nothing else, just a semblance of the playoffs. Try to get some finality to this,
Well, I have to go on Amazon and find a 60-inch high def that works on the beach.
Hey, Timmy, they just gave you a refund, right, on your Bruins tickets? Is that right?
The Celtics just sent me something today saying I can credit it. I can either take money or I can put it towards next year's.
That's good.
I really haven't looked at the Bruins email yet.
So a shortened season for a team like the Red Sox that definitely, if it was a 162 game season, did not have the depth to compete with teams like the Yankees. This sure helps them out.
Totally.
Right?
100%. And that's even without any rule changes. I still think, we might have talked about this last week, I still think they should throw every friggin' rule change that they ever want to test into this season. 7-inning games, timed pitches, limited, pitching, whatever that is. And the weirder the rules get, the better it is for the Red Sox.
I agree, Russ, because this MLB needs a massive shakeup if they're not going to be completely dead in 25 years.
Yeah. And something will be a hit coming out of that too.
I mean,
something will be the talk of the town.
We are diehard fans, and we were walking out the 6th inning last year on a regular basis.
You just can't. These games last too long. Period. Like they have to wake up to that. And especially if they're playing through the fall, Scott. Imagine what it's going to be like for them up against NBA or the NHL. They're going to get creamed. It's one thing for them they get creamed by the NFL all the time, right? Like that's just given at this point. But to go and get creamed every night in and night out by the NHL and the NBA, or at least the NBA, that would be bad.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. Now, of course, nobody loves Fenway Park more than I, and you have to admit that, okay? And I'm not saying that I want this to happen. Of course, I do not. But if they have to take out if they have to create a distance of 6 feet between seats, it would appear that Fenway Park would be obsolete.
Yeah, but you'd imagine they'd only have to do that for a year, right? I mean, once a vaccine comes. Thing. Yeah, but once a vaccine comes, I don't imagine that they're going to have to do those sorts of social distancing things. That we're going to have to do that.
Yeah, right now, Scotty, they'll just probably mark the seats that you can sit in and paint them a certain color that you're not allowed to sit in.
Or just take the seats out.
Oh, I don't know. But your point,
Scott, you're saying your point is if this is a long-term thing, there's just not enough. Like those seats are so cramped together, they'd have to remove more than 3/4 of the seats.
Yeah, then
right?
all of a sudden, obviously, it's more beneficial for them to build a new stadium, taking that to account and creating much greater space.
They've invested so much, though, Scotty, in the Fenway area that that would be a last ditch thing that they'd ever do, because they've just poured so much money into the surrounding real estate at this point.
And if social distancing never became a permanent feature, you couldn't have stadiums because people couldn't go out together anymore.
That's right.
Friends couldn't go, dates couldn't go. That kind of thing you couldn't make money on them.
Hey, you bring a 3-year-old boy, what are you, 6 feet away from him,
Yeah.
So the economics of you're right, exactly. Yeah, you're right. You can't be right. That's totally, I never thought of that. The economics of sports has changed. Do you think the players understand that yet?
They don't want to, but they understand.
I think they're scared. Yeah. I mean, when LeBron comes out and says, I want to play, like, this is a guy who is seeing his, career flash before his eyes at this point in time. When you get NFL players who know on average they got 3 years, right? These guys want to play. So I think, they're scared, and I think the leagues have it over them in some of these situations.
LeBron's on the 16th hole right now. I mean, maybe the 17th right now, right? I mean,
that's right. And
he had a good opportunity this year too, Tim.
Well, and don't discount the fact that this Michael Jordan documentary, you get a lot of people who have been saying for 5-10 years that LeBron was maybe the best player ever, who've changed their minds back. LeBron now needs to sort of try to get one leg back up on MJ.
Yeah, great segue, Professor Russell.
See, I didn't even know that.
Dance, yes, the Last Dance, guys. Have you been you've been watching? What do you guys think of the Last Dance? Obviously, it's getting much more play because we're just starved for anything.
Nothing to do, yeah.
Yeah, and they had that for 10 years and couldn't use it because Michael Jordan wouldn't allow them to until he got to edit every single second of it.
I have to say, I think it's terrific, mainly because I think Jordan is being so authentic and candid in his interviews, right? Like he's given us stuff in these interviews that he's doing.
Well, it felt like
this
a couple of episodes.
It's going to be super interesting because this is when he retires. There's sort of the conspiracy around the retirement about whether it was gambling enforced by David Stern and then going to play baseball.
Look, I always hated Isaiah Thomas. I always thought he was the dirtiest son of a bitch on a very dirty team with Bill Laimbeer and Rick Mulhorn and the Rodmans of the world. Geez, this feels like let's do a 10-part series on what an asshole Isaiah Thomas is.
There's a lot of that in there. Those bad boy Pistons do not come off well in this thing at all.
Well, it's designed that way. Michael Jordan is directing it.
Yeah.
And he hated Isaiah, but not that Isaiah was any saint. I hated him when he was at Indiana too. He was a crappy person then too.
Tremendous player though.
Oh yeah. No doubt.
Unbelievable. And he would do very well. Isaiah had a game that would play very well in today's NBA. Very well.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, it's a point guard league in some levels, but I'm shocked the way they mistreated that Jerry Krause, the general manager, and were able to get away with it. They treated this guy who obviously did a great job the video they show as disrespectful as I've ever seen an upper management guy.
Really mean. Yeah, very mean. Very mean.
I think MJ got a few points in when he put this together. A couple of his enemies really got stabbed.
Oh yeah, but this comes off as a bully, don't you think, Joe?
Oh, in that first couple of segments, yes. I was surprised that they would treat the boss that way.
And the whole gambling, and the whole gambling, throwing quarters against the wall. Kind of, I don't know if Michael should have edited that out. That shows he's a degenerate gambler.
Yeah. He clearly had a problem.
All right, boys. Well, that's our show tonight. Want to thank, of course, the fellas. Want to thank Corbin, and of course, we have to thank the lovely and talented Adrian. We always do. Please check us out on our website at thegrandstanders.com and tune in again next Wednesday night at 6:30 for another edition of the Grandstanders Live via Zoom. I'm your host, Scott Kerman. Have a great and happy night.